What is a postdoc? And I wanted to go ahead and talk about some of the basics and turn you over to our panelists, which I'm really delighted that they agreed to participate in the first part of our series. So a postdoc is a placement for the purpose of gaining scientific, technical, or other professional skills that advance the professional career. It's temporary in nature, lasting from 1 to 5 years, depending upon your discipline and the type of postdoctoral position. The heart of a postdoc position is a full-time research. A postdoc position should give you the opportunity to do in-depth research, to gain new research skills, knowledge, and to publish, and most importantly, also present your research findings. Some postdocs provide other professional support and experience, such as teaching, mentoring, and professional development. Ideally, a postdoc position is also an opportunity to learn grant writing and publication skills under the advisement of your postdoc mentor. A postdoc position will give you a chance to hone presentation skills as you represent your home institution in presenting research at professional conferences and in publishing your findings. The positions may also involve supervising junior members of your placement host. Less commonly, postdoc positions may involve opportunities for teaching and mentoring of students. So some of you might be asking, why a postdoc? Is it for you? Well, in many fields of life sciences, physics, and chemistry, for instance, a postdoc is an essential prerequisite for a career in doing research in that field. You should talk to your advisor, faculty members, and fellow graduate students about the value of a postdoc position in your field. Examine your career goals and do some research about whether or not a postdoc position is necessary for you to achieve those goals. Since a postdoc position is focused on research, you should ask yourself whether you have the passion for research that will keep you happy in a 1 to 5 year research-based postdoc position. You should examine your career goals and the skills and experience you need to meet those goals. Then talk to your mentors, advisors, fellow graduate students about what you need to do to achieve your goals. Please browse postdoc advertisements and talk to former postdocs to get a feel about whether a postdoc position is something that would help you further yourself and achieve those goals. So there's a variety of postdoc types of postdocs available, and those postdocs who work on a grant of a PI are essentially employed to work on that faculty member's funded research project. Federal agencies may provide postdoc positions either in the form of postdoctoral fellowships that students may take with them to various institutions, or in the form of postdoctoral research positions with national labs. Private foundations may also be a source of a postdoctoral positions or postdoctoral fellowships. And finally, industry may also be a place to look for those types of positions. So how to apply? First, prepare early. What skills, knowledge, and experience do you need to achieve your career goals? Once you have a set of goals and expectations, you can assess how a postdoc can help you achieve those goals. And you can prioritize your applications based on what the postdoc position will provide you in regards to furthering your career. The most important thing you can do is network. Early on, when you're still a student, make connections at labs where you may want to do a postdoc. Express your interest in potential postdoc positions to faculty you meet at national professional conferences. Talk to current postdocs about their experience in organizations with openings. And strive to make research connections outside of your university while you're still a graduate student. Talk to potential advisors about your interest in a future postdoc position. Talk to your current postdocs about their experience with different advisors to get a sense of whom you would want to be working with and what they might be like to work with. Talk with members of labs you might want to work with. Are they happy? Are they publishing? Do they have recommendations for potential advisors? You should also search the federal and private postdoc fellowships that are portable, meaning you can take the funding with you to any lab or institution. One good place to start this search is pathwaystoscience.org. Start early with a calendar of deadlines and action items. So, questions to ask as you apply for a postdoc position. You should ask your mentor for the position what they see as major benchmarks that would indicate a successful postdoc experience. Ask what their goals are for a postdoc as well as their expectations. Your postdoc advisor will be a critical part of your success and happiness as a postdoctoral researcher. Does their advising style sync with your needs? When you choose an advisor, think about the importance of your advisor's prestige versus their mentoring skills and the time they have for you. If at all possible, arrange for a personal meeting with the potential advisor. Also be sure to talk to other postdocs who have worked with this advisor and other postdocs from the same lab. Are the postdocs happy? Are they receiving professional development? Are they publishing? Will you be regarded as a junior colleague or simply, quote, skilled labor to support the PI? Will you have a single mentor or multiple mentors or a committee of mentors? Is there career planning assistance available? Are there travel funds available? Is the salary offered in research support competitive? These are all good questions to ask. Make sure you get a sense for the position that you will be gaining new skills and knowledge that will help you advance your career. A position that does not stretch your abilities will be of much less value to your career. Will you be the only postdoc in the lab, or will there be a group of postdocs? Are there many postdocs at the university, or will there be a few? What is the university policy on postdoctoral positions? Is there a benefit package? How will these dynamics affect your satisfaction with the position and your ability to build a network of professional colleagues? These, again, are important questions to ask and consider as you explore your opportunities. Institutions vary widely in how they classify postdocs, so ask questions about salary, benefits, travel support, vacation, etc. Also ask about the recognition for your work. Will there be an opportunity to author papers, to be a lead author? Do postdocs receive formal evaluation of their performance? Although less common, some postdocs may be provided with opportunities to teach and mentor. And so we have three, I believe, phenomenal individuals. And one of those I have the pleasure of introducing is Christine O'Brien, who works with the Ford Foundation. And for me, and for other Ford Fellows, she's the heart of the Ford Fellowship program. She's the manager of the Ford Foundation Fellowships at the National Academies of Science. And I have had the pleasure of knowing Chris now since 1997. So I'd like to pass it on to you, Chris.
Oh, thank you very much, Ashanti, and I really welcome this opportunity to talk to those who have signed up for the webinar this evening. First of all, I want to give everyone my email address. It's cobrien@nas.edu. So if I mention something this evening and you want to get in touch with me personally, I welcome those emails because there's a lot to be said about postdoctoral positions in general, but also about the program that I work on primarily and then some other programs here at the National Academies. So I'll go rather rapidly through some basics about the programs here, but I certainly would welcome that the discussion continue. And Ashanti, you are a great example of someone who has mentored people all along the way, and I think that the fact that IBP has put this webinar together is really a wonderful thing. So I thank you for the benefit of it. The Ford Foundation Fellowship Program is the one I primarily work on. Our deadlines have been extended this year due to the Hurricane Sandy. Our postdoctoral deadline is November 24th. You'll hear that again. There's still time to put the application together. We have predoctoral and dissertation awards as well, and there is still time to meet the deadlines for those. So I'm making a plug for those who are still thinking about applying for a postdoc. I work at the National Academies in Washington, D.C., and it's basically a think tank, and we manage fellowship programs for others. And in Ashanti's presentation, she mentioned federal-funded programs, and we have those. This is a privately funded program that I will speak primarily about tonight. It's funded by the Ford Foundation in New York City, and they have just committed a large sum of money, $100 million for the next 10 years to keep the program going. So they very much believe in this fellowship program. The Ford Foundation Postdoctoral Fellowship Program is primarily for those who are interested in teaching at the college and university level, and it also has as its goal to increase the diversity of the nation's college and university faculties, to maximize the educational benefits of diversity, and to increase the number of professors who can and will use diversity as a teaching tool. In the eligibility for the program, the next slide, it's open to individuals who are United States citizens, who can produce evidence of superior academic achievement, who are committed to a teaching and research career at the college and university level, and who are in a research-based discipline. On the next slide, you'll see that it is limited further to those who have recently received a PhD degree, will have it in hand by November 24th of this year, or who have held it no longer than 7 years. If someone has a degree longer than 7 years, unfortunately, they cannot apply in the Ford Foundation Postdoctoral Fellowship Program. The eligible fields of study are before you. They are the behavioral sciences, social sciences, physical sciences, life sciences, mathematics, and engineering. At the dissertation and postdoctoral levels, research-based work in the field of education is also included. And as you can see, there are many fields of the humanities listed there. The criteria for selection are the following: the evidence of superior academic achievement, the degree of promise that an individual will continue to have very high achievement. And then the next slide is quite wordy. Basically, it says that diversity is defined very broadly. So the diversity of human experience is something that the panelists may consider in deciding who the individuals will be who will be awarded these fellowships. The panelists also, and this would be on the next slide, they may take into consideration individuals who choose to state that they are a member of one of the groups listed there: Alaska Native, African Americans, Mexican Americans, Native American Indians, Native Pacific Islanders, and Puerto Ricans. These are groups that the Ford Foundation has determined are severely underrepresented in academia, and this an individual identifying as a member of one of these groups and who can demonstrate sustained engagement with communities that are underrepresented may be given special consideration. The postdoctoral stipend, this will be the next slide, is $40,000 a year. Often individuals are successful finding supplementation for that. This is a highly competitive fellowship, and only 20 awards are granted. At the end of the fellowship is 1 year. The individual returns to their previous employer or goes to a new employer and is provided with $1,500 from the Ford Foundation, and the employer is asked to match that. Expenses are covered to attend at least one conference of Ford Fellows. Our funding has been such that we have been able to offer 2 years of attendance to recent awardees in the program. Shanti mentioned that she's a Ford Regional Liaison. We have about 38 active volunteers throughout the mainland U.S. and in Puerto Rico who have volunteered their time and their interest to mentor others, whether they're Ford Fellows or wish to be successful applying for a fellowship like a Ford Foundation postdoctoral fellowship. These individuals' names and contact information are at our website, and they are very resourceful, very skilled at mentoring others. So I urge anyone who's considering a postdoctoral fellowship or who is seeking career mentoring to take advantage of this wide range of very talented individuals who have expressed and have demonstrated an interest in serving others. So the next screen basically gives you our website. The application is totally online. You may be wondering how much work do you have to do between now and the deadline, which is approaching quickly, November 24th. essentially there are 9 pages that you would need to write by November 24th, and then beyond that, a bibliography of about 10 sources. For each source that you're going to use in your research or you're going to rely on, you are asked to write 2 or 3 sentences. So basically, it's a very compact application. All the essays are totally within your control to write and to submit online by the deadline date. Okay, the next screen talks about your letters of reference. You're asked to name 4 individuals who will write letters for you and provide email addresses. You notify these 4 individuals, and then they submit their letters electronically to us. In your online application, a date stamp will appear to show you that someone has submitted a letter on your behalf. It's very important to monitor that so that you have at least 3 letters. If you have 2, your application will not be reviewed. So a minimum of 3 letters are required, and it totally is within your control to check the completeness of your file. The next screen mentions something that Ashanti referred to, and it's your network, building networks and holding on to networks of individuals interested in your career, and that's one of the enormous benefits of becoming a Ford Foundation Fellow. We have this conference that occurs once a year. Individuals who had fellowships in past years can volunteer to be presenters or resource individuals in a variety of ways. Many of the Ford Fellows have, through this conference, had their work published. We have representatives of academic presses who come to the conference and schedule one-on-one sessions with attendees. There are workshops for really every level of an academic career, which are rich with information, and the potential is there, certainly, to make these strong connections that will last through your whole professional life. So the Ford Foundation Fellowship Program is one program that we administer here at the National Academies. We also have postdoctoral opportunities at federal laboratories. And this is something else that Ashanti referred to. She mentioned that you might affiliate with a federally funded laboratory. And for the laboratories that we manage their postdoctoral opportunities, you can go to the website for the National Academies and search on the Research Associateship Program. You identify the laboratories where you are interested in affiliating. You start a dialogue with those laboratories, and then there are multiple deadlines during the year: February 1, May 1, August 1, and November 1. You can apply to this fellowship program prior to your receipt of the PhD degree. You do not have to have it in hand in order to start the dialogue and to compete. There's another fellowship program based here, the Jefferson Science Fellows Program. That's for individuals who are well along in their academic career. They've already attained tenure, and they want to provide advice to the U.S. Department of State or the U.S. Agency for International Development on matters of science policy. So that is another fellowship. A deadline for that is coming up January 14th, 2013, and individuals who have attained tenure or they've attained rank similar to tenure who want to participate in a science policy fellowship should pursue this further, and that's also at our website. And my final slide gives you information about how to get in touch with us. There's a telephone number there. The phone is quite busy these days. It might be better to send an email to infofel@nas.edu, and our online applications do provide content support and technical support. So individuals meeting with obstacles or they have a question that they want answered can avail themselves of the technical and content support. And with that, I want to thank you for listening, and also I want to repeat my email address, cobrien@nas.edu, and I welcome questions today and also questions in the future. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Chris. Next, we're going to introduce speaker Dr. Shekhar Bhandali, who is Alcatel-Lucent professor, who is also the chair of the Electrical and Computer Engineering Department at the Florida International University. So take it away, Dr. Benzali.
All right. A very quick background about myself. I studied in India, did my bachelor's. That was in what is called metallurgy, which is a part of material science. And at the end of my bachelor's, the one thing I knew in life was I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I knew what I would not do. And I never wanted an advanced degree because I thought all professors were idiots. This is a family, so I'm just going to be very blunt, okay? And secondly, I said I'd never want to go into higher education. Okay, so I went and worked for an industry. So I worked with an industry that was building aircraft engines, and it was a fantastic 2 years. So I joined them, and they were building, aircraft engines for fighter jets. And they said, "You don't know anything about an airplane or aircraft engine, so we want you to go and get a degree, so you understand what the heck you're doing." Sweet. They paid for it, and I picked up a master's in aerospace engineering. And I was building gears and putting planes together, engines together. First 2 years was lots to learn, and the next 2 years, it was like every morning you'd go. I could pretty much can it down to a set of 50 problems, right? And I had to solve one of those 50 on the next engine on the production line. So I got very bored with the monotony of what I had to do, and I said, "Hey, you know what? Let's get out of here." So I decided I'm going to go and explore the world. If you're in India, everybody heads west. So I decided I'm going to head east, right? So I went, if you're in India, if you draw a line, and America is the northwest corner, Australia is the southeast corner. So I went to Australia. And middle of Melbourne, I had no intention, like I said, of doing any research. There's a 9-story building in downtown Melbourne, and it had these words RMIT. And I thought, 9-story building must be some company. It's in the middle of downtown. My idea of a university was a big green urban space. So I walk into that company, what I thought was a company. Turns out it's a university. Met a guy in the aerospace engineering department who introduced me to another gentleman who ended up being my major professor. And when I was talking to this gentleman, there was a cover of Scientific American magazine, April 1992 issue. I'll never forget that in my life, sitting on his desk. And on that desk, on that cover was a photo of an ant with a gear on the foot of an ant, a micro gear that they had made and put on the foot of an ant. And I was just fascinated with it. How the heck did they do it? Because, mind you, in a plane, we're making these massive gears and we're trying to figure this all out. So the gentleman across the desk, who became my advisor, basically trying to ask, "Do you want to build something like that?" I said, "Hell yeah, that'd be fun." Okay? So it took me 3 years to do my PhD. I joined in 93. I had started my postdoc in 96, formally got my degree in 97 because Australia has a British system. Your dissertation goes out like a journal paper for a review. And this is the pre-internet era where you print a hard copy, you mail it to a guy who's going to get to it, make his notes, and give it to a secretary to type it up, and then send a report out to you. Era. And my work was funded by the Japanese, so once I was done with this, I got a fellowship. Not unlike what Chris described, I actually picked up a fellowship in Japan from a science and technology agency, and decided I'm going to spend a couple of years in Japan. So moved to Japan in 96. By early 98, we thought it's time to move out of Japan, although we still had time left on the fellowship. I had 3 positions, full-time permanent offers in Japan, but I made a life choice of getting out of there. And I'll tell you why I did that. The first one was, when you are in Japan, it's a very homogeneous society, and you can spend your whole life, you still look like an outsider. You can speak fluent Japanese, you can do everything, but you are still a gaijin or an alien. So when you're getting out of Japan, we said, okay, where do I go? I could go back to Australia, I could go to Europe or go to America because we decided we wanted to be an English-speaking land, didn't want to learn another language. So my choice was move back to Australia, go to the German-speaking part of Switzerland. That's where I had a job. Or the third option was Cincinnati. So I came to University of Cincinnati, which was my second postdoc, if you will. Basically, I came as a research faculty there. And in 2000, fall of 2000, I moved to USF. And then Sunny and I had a blast there. Dr. Johnson and I had a blast there till she left. And so that got very boring, so I left. And I just came to FIU last fall. So that's a very quick snapshot of my life story. And there's a context to why I gave it. The first thing is, I said I knew 20 years ago, 25 years ago, I knew what I did not want to do. I was absolutely sure of what I did not want to do. And today, here's where I am. I never wanted to come to the U.S. I'm in the U.S. I never wanted to get a higher degree. I got a PhD. And I never wanted to be in academia. And I am there, and I'm loving it. Okay? So the first thing you'll find out when you make career choices, and postdoc is a very important part of discovery, is you make choices based on your observations of people you have come across. Okay? And the people you come across are not you. They don't have your way of approaching things. So take it as a learning moment. You don't have to make the same mistakes again, but don't draw firm conclusions from it. All right, number one. Number two, as you go around and figure out what you want to do, the one thing that I learned in life, and I still sort of practice it very carefully, is postdoc is quote-unquote like a marriage. Okay? You are going to be with this person, working with this person. And the whole idea is that you will grow. Okay? And if it doesn't work out, your mentor doesn't lose much. Okay? You have lots at stake. Lots and lots at stake. So if I was you, I would basically try and first see whether can I work with somebody whose personality matches my personality, number one, whose work style I can complement, okay, and who I can look up to. If you do not, if you do not have, quote unquote, a level of respect, if I might use that word, it's like I'm searching for a better word. It's very hard. It gets very hard to deliver and grow. So I've had probably about 10 or 12 postdocs in my last 10, 12 years since I've been a postdoc. And there have been all types, all kinds. I'll tell you the funniest thing. I have not yet have had an opportunity of having an American, which is a U.S. cit, as a postdoc. Part of the problem has been in STEM, or especially in engineering. You have a PhD, the industry pays you double what a postdoc pays. Easy. Starting salaries are between 75 and 100K, depending which company you go to. So you have to be very motivated to be an academic. All right? That's one thing. But let's say you're done with your PhD. And there would be a lot of you who are pretty much done or close to being done or have been done for a few years. And each job that you are in, whether you're a student or a postdoc now, you're looking for a postdoc means most of your students, right? Or many of you who finished postdocs heading to a next second postdoc or whatever. Your previous job prepares you for the next step. So when you're a student and you look around and say, in my field, it's okay to publish one paper, because in this school where I am, if I publish 2 papers, I'm better than everybody else. That is absolutely great. But my stock line to most of the people is, look, if you're a valedictorian of your high school and you decide that I'm going to apply to MIT, MIT probably will have about 30 to 50,000 applications of just valedictorians. So, or something like that, some ludicrous number, right? So just being the best within the area or the institution you are in is the starting bid. Okay, that gets you the seat on the table. That doesn't seal the deal. And the bar is constantly rising. So continue to work towards more and more. If you are looking for a postdoc, the simple question for you to ask is, what am I going to do next? And Dr. Johnson put it beautifully in her slide. Okay, she basically said everything I wanted to say. But what you need to understand is, you are trying to learn from other people's mistakes and other people's experiences, and you want to make your first mistakes early on. The simple rule I have for my postdocs is fail fast, fail often. The more you fail, the more you learn. If you do not fail, you never learn. Okay? So you go in the lab, you do things, you ask for things. I mean, you have a choice. I'm an engineer, so I'll put an engineering hat on it. I said you have a choice of being a technician or you have a choice of being an engineer. And the difference between a technician is a technician does what he or she is told. An engineer thinks what to do. But that is a personal choice that you and only you will make. You're well within your rights to turn back and tell of 10 years that that person that I was postdocing with failed in his or her duties to train me right. But it is your choice of how you eat and what you eat. So you have to take the initiative. You have to have the drive. Because if I have, like I said, 3 postdocs and 10 graduate students right now, and not all of them get the same face time, or some people who get a lot of face time from me don't get the same quality time. Okay? Because as a person, the only thing that I can give to anybody, whether it's a postdoc or a student working with me, is my time. I have nothing else to give you beyond my time. So if I'm spending my time, for me time is money, and I'm looking on return on investment. And if you're in the field of science, return on investment comes in 2 ways: ideas and results. Ideas are an opening bid, which basically means that you can think. Results, journal papers, if you will, or proposals, is basically that you can execute. Okay? If you want to be a faculty member, the first thing that will happen, and most of us can, or you can talk to anybody, and it's changing now, okay, where we have very active mentoring programs. But when I started, or when Dr. Johnson started, you were given a room, you had a telephone, a computer, and a printer, and said, good luck. This is what you're going to teach, and the rest is up to you. Go figure it out. And the world has moved on since then, and we are a lot more careful about how we do things. And a lot of it is because those of us who went through it wanted to make sure that you guys coming in don't have to go through the same things that we went through. It's an easier experience for you. So if you're a postdoc, what do I expect out of my postdocs? I don't hire a postdoc in the area that I already know stuff in, rule number 1. Because that doesn't allow me to grow. It doesn't allow the postdoc to grow. So I use postdocs as extension arms. For example, one of my postdocs is a physicist, right? Chemist, who is a biochemist. We do a lot of biosensing. So I know Chemistry 101. I can fool a chemist for the first 10 minutes, but at the 11th minute, they will know that I'm faking it, okay? But the postdoc that works with me knows chemistry. He has no idea how engineering works, and he's just learning in my lab. So what's happening is he's learning a very different way of looking at things while he's helping me get my projects done, right? The second person is a guy from Japan who had a lot of experience in microfabrication and DNA analysis. And we do what is called microfabrication, the way your computer chips are made. Those are the kind of processes we use, which are very expensive. And so we talked to him about trying to do the same thing that you do with silicon on a computer chip, right? Do it on a paper with sunlight. Can we just change the way we do things? Radically different pie in the sky ideas, right? So he's exploring that. And the third gentleman is probably a little more traditional. He is now research faculty with me. And he's my right-hand man because since I became an administrator, I suddenly found that I have a lot less time than I thought I would have. And so he quarterbacks me on a lot of things to make sure that on the research front, nothing falls to the crack for me. So what I look for you, if you wanted to apply for a postdoc, is are you willing to write a grant? Do you want to be a co-PI or a PI? The one refrain that I hear very often from a lot of postdocs is, that person, I did all the work, he stole my idea. In many cases that may happen, but I would submit to many of you that he basically sketched the idea and asked you to dive into the details or gave you a framework and said, what do you have? Show me your creativity on how you can come with something new that fits into this bigger picture, right? And that is like apprenticing for, let's say, if you were trying to apprentice for a painter or a fashion designer, right? You are trying to put your own touch onto a larger thing and learning how to make a product successful. It's
Shaker,
too early for you to worry. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I would just, if you could wrap up that thought so we can have some time for Nikisha before we run out of time.
All right. So what I would suggest you do is work with the faculty members. Develop your ideas, send them out. At least you'll know what sticks, what doesn't stick. And that little bit is priceless. Okay? I'll pass it on to Nikisha now.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Benzali. Next, we would like to introduce Nikisha Williams, who's a postdoc in Earth and Atmospheric Sciences at the City University of New York.
Hi, everyone. My name is Nikisha Williams. I am a postdoc at City College of New York. Just quickly, a little background about me. I have a bachelor's from SUNY Environmental Science and Forestry in Environmental Science. I have a master's in watershed hydrology from North Carolina State. And I recently meaning 2 years, almost 2 years now, a PhD in chemical oceanography, and Dr. Johnson was actually my major professor. Right now at City College, I would say that my postdoctoral experience has been, I guess, what I would consider unique, but since this is my first postdoc, I don't know if unique is the right word. But I think that I would say that during my time at City, I have been pretty much independent. I'm more of a complementary to my postdoc mentor than a skilled worker. She is very fluent in certain geological techniques, and I am fluent in other areas, and we tend to collaborate a lot on different projects and try to bring kind of combine our skills to develop research projects or to push certain types of research projects forward. So that has worked. With reference to my postdoctoral experience, I've pretty much, I'm a researcher, number one. And number two, in the past year or so, I've actually started teaching some of the core courses at the college. I'm actually teaching a course this semester. I've also had a lot of opportunities to mentor students that have come into the lab who have, particularly undergraduate students who are coming to work under my supervisor, and I have often been able to co-mentor these students and help them develop projects and be able to construct undergraduate research papers where they actually, put it out to get published in an undergraduate research journal. And recently, I just attended the Geological Society meeting with 8 of our students, and they all presented at GSA in their student poster session. So I keep very busy with reference to teaching and mentoring and research. I also try to carve out time for papers and publishing. I am working on a couple of papers with my supervisor at the moment. I also have collaborations with peers and colleagues that I went to school with for my PhD outside of City College. And I also just trying to tie up some of the work that I did for my dissertation. So I keep very busy, and I try to keep myself developing. As Dr. Benzali had stated, it's important to be in a position to grow, and sometimes it may not be the way in which you originally thought you were growing, but you're growing as long as you're learning something new. Like teaching and mentoring is something new to me. I'm developing different research skills that I hadn't had an opportunity to develop while I was doing a PhD. I'm doing that. And I'm also just taking charge and trying to be a professional, and present my way in that form of fashion, because I would hopefully like to go into the academy, and you have to have a lot of gumption to go in there. So I'm trying to start off on the right leg. So I'm just going to end it right there, and if anybody has any questions, I'm open to take any questions. I think it's better for me if I have questions and then respond